mean, look at what they were looking at as normal casualty numbers. And by the way, this is considered to be horrible. So, I mean, they thought it could be bad. It could be like the Russo-Japanese War on steroids, couldn't it? That war happened a decade. The British have Indian troops from India arrive, and Canadians show up very quickly. The Scots from Scotland are always a part of the British forces, and they arrive in kilts, and this is where they will get their famous nickname, which some people wonder if it even happened this way. But it's too good of a nickname to, not mention. The Germans supposedly call them the ladies from hell because of the kilts they wear. And they're all showing up every day in greater numbers and taking their place in the line to replace the dead and the wounded that are forced to think outside the box because they're not going to win that encounter. The problem is the box that they have to think outside of is the one that was worked on for decades before the First World War came out to create laws of war, humanitarian restrictions on what you could do, ways to protect civilians, non-combatants, and even combatants from, things that were considered to be unsportsmanlike or extra horrific, more horrific than it needed to be. Remember, in the first episode, we talked about things like the Hague Conference, ways to make war conform to international law. The problem was the Germans and the Central Powers were now in that position that everyone kind of knew was going to happen, when you wrote those laws of war, which is they have to decide whether or not adhering to international law is worth losing a war over. You begin to see soldiers require to fight. If the soldiers can't break through on the Western Front, what if you could prevent one side from building the shells necessary to keep the war going? This is where the idea of the home front first really takes hold, and it becomes the justification for attacking civilians in other countries. Here's the letter that the German Zeppelin leader writes to his mother, trying to make his actions that he apparently feels guilty over himself sound morally okay. Quote, "We who strike the enemy where his heart beats have been slandered as baby killers and murderers of women. What we do is repugnant even to us, but necessary, very necessary. Nowadays, there's no such animal as a non-combatant. Modern warfare is total warfare. A soldier cannot function at the front without the factory worker, the farmer, and all the other providers behind him. You and I, Mother, have discussed this subject, and I know you understand what I say. My men are brave and honorable. Their cause is holy. How can they sin while doing their duty? If what we do is frightful, then may frightfulness be Germany's salvation." End quote. This same attitude will be applied to the other parts of warfare that rear their ugly head in 1915 because of the needs of the situation. I mean, flamethrowers are one of the technological weapons that will, first appear in 1915. Again, using science in ways to try to create openings, whether tactically on the battlefield, to lose their mind, to have their nerves shattered. And this is something, as I said, this war does something that seems unbelievable. The ability to take one of the most stressful situations human beings ever faced, where the continuous front moves, right? You have blitzkrieg, and the people are continually changing locations. What makes the battlefields of the First World War, as we said earlier, so particularly horrifying is that it doesn't change location. You get to live around the carnage. They're not always sure what to do next. They have no idea how things are going on the beach next to them. They don't know if the ships know where they are. The ships don't know where they are. There's no coordination going on. And you really get a wonderful object lesson, which you're also getting on the Western Front, concerning what weapon system is really missing from this war. I mean, it exists, but not in a way where it's coordinated, not in a way that you'll see it come of age in the next World War. It's one of those things that when you consider it in a vacuum, it doesn't even sound like a weapon. It's like barbed wire. You don't think of barbed wire as a weapon. You don't think of radio communications as a weapon either. But it's been the missing ingredient in so many of these missed opportunities in this war. If only the troops that broke through knew they broke through. If only they could change where the artillery was shooting. If only we could bring up reinforcements. This happens all the time on the Western Front. Now it's happening at